so wonderful. And I'm so excited, a little spoiled to be hanging out with not only my dear friend and colleague, but this remarkable, remarkable woman that's going to share what she's up to and what she's doing to help so many. I would love for her to introduce herself, her first and last name, and the name of the organization.
Thank you, Sheldon. I am Sue Weldon, founder and CEO of Unite for Her, but I always like to say survivor. 17 years breast cancer survivor, and really all of this was, founded out of my experience, my own personal experience. So I'm really honored to be here.
Well, I'm honored and always spoiled to talk to you. And I want to dive into that experience. I want people to understand where this came from, and all of the work, the labor of love that is Unite for Her. Let's talk about that experience and really have an understanding as to the journey, that got us here.
I know. At the time, I was diagnosed in 2004 and 17 years ago, young woman, 3 little kids and trying to just be all and do all for everyone. I think sometimes we're in this, in this position where we're a wife, a mother, a daughter, and I was taking care of my mom, at the time. She had undisclosed cancer, and it was just a tough year. And it was the year prior, and my mom passed away in February of 2004, and I'm diagnosed in April. And I just know I ran myself down. Like I lost 20 pounds. I wasn't sleeping. I was having anxiety. Like I couldn't fix her, right? I couldn't fix her. And as a daughter, that feeling, right? And that's where all this sort of began. I swore they had the wrong girl. I wanted them to check that tumor 3 times, but they had the right girl. They had the right girl. And that is when, all of a sudden now I didn't feel sick. And now I'm not forced, but of course, to treat the cancer. Bilateral mastectomy, 6 months of chemotherapy, and had a lot of side effects and symptoms that were just debilitating on my knees. And that's where the standard of care, I noticed this gap. There was this gap. And for me to be able to understand how I can incorporate, types of wellness therapies like acupuncture, nutrition, whole food nutrition, yoga, and definitely the meditation, quieting the mind yoga in order to help me get through treatment. And it worked. And I spent a lot of money out of pocket, $6,000 that year. Not everybody can do that. Right? So that was the gap. I remember being at an event and I had 6 months of chemotherapy, and I'm now just getting out of it and still doing my acupuncture and trying to get my, when you're a young woman and you go through chemotherapy, you go through menopause, you're through a forced menopause. And I'm trying to get all of that back. I wanted to have more children and, really diving into these integrative therapies, integrative care. I just didn't realize at the time I was building the business plan for Unite for Her. I was just trying to be there for my kiddos, and that really was that moment. I was at an event and saw a woman out of my eye, and she was my age, if not younger, hair out, hollow, eyes, yellowish tone. And I thought, I'm going to go up to her and tell her everything I've done, tell her about the acupuncture and the yoga and nutrition and give her the tools and the resources, right? So she can feel this empowerment. And she just cried when I told her about it. She's like, well, good for you. I can never afford all that. And that was a moment. I'm like, all right, honey, I want to start a nonprofit. I'm not quite sure what it looks like. We're all going to work for free for a while, but we're going to get funds directly to women and men diagnosed with breast cancer that they don't have to worry about making a choice, right? Like that they're going to be able to, get access and get the education about how this is science and research based can help you do better with a cancer treatment. So that was like the birth story of Unite for Her.
I mean, how amazing is it in that way? Because I think that what people don't understand is that to birth something from your own valley, I think that there's so much power in that, right? There's so much power. Oftentimes you're self-consumed, right? You're consumed with what is going through your life, with your 3 children, your marriage, your health. And to see out of that corner of your eye, that individual that could really benefit from your knowledge, what you knew, and the experience, the $6,000, as you mentioned, that you invested, to be able to figure that out.
And I was lucky
in that way. And so at that moment you saw, right? Not only did you see her and what she was going through, but you saw that there was an opportunity to really be able to help others, men and women, avoid, spending that $6,000. Let's talk mission. let's talk mission. Like, let's talk brass tacks. If I was to ask you, what is the mission of Unite for her? How would you answer that question?
Yeah, you got it. So for us at Unite for Her, our mission is to fund and deliver integrative therapies, supportive services to those affected by breast or ovarian cancer for life, right? For their overall health and well-being. And if they're living with metastatic disease, we never leave their side. That is a cancer that is always going to be on treatment. And we end up renewing, we call it a passport of services, $2,000 worth of treatments every 6 months for that woman or man that's living with metastatic disease. So we fund and deliver integrative care, supportive care, complementary care. We hear a lot of those words interchangeable. But, think whole food nutrition, think oncology massage, acupuncture, yoga, meditation, fitness, sexual health counseling, regular counseling, so much. And the food, like the food that we're able to bring delivered right to their homes, like a sunbasket meal delivery or a farm share or a farm box of vegetables, and then couple it with nutrition so that food is your medicine and they become empowered. All of these types of therapies give that person control again in a disease they had no control over. And that's how we just allow them to form their own wellness plan, personalized plan. They get to pick and choose once they get the education, and it's really getting that education. I felt like I was a very educated woman and I never knew anything about acupuncture, had no idea. And yoga, I thought yoga, I had to pull my foot up over my head and, wear those cute pants. I had no idea, right? As an athlete, I thought for sure it was a heavy duty fitness, right? I had no idea the power of breath. Yoga helped me with my nausea. Sheldon, yoga, not Compusan, Zofran, Maritrol, none of that worked. Yoga. So that was, that's a learning lesson to explore the Eastern type of philosophy of healing and combine it with the medical community on Western medical care. It's the gold standard. And we are now seeing that more and more with different, different corporations like Acuvia coming out with these studies that show that physicians and patients want integrative care and it makes them do better. Overall outcome, whole patient care. So it's what we've been doing for 12 years. And it's so good to see that research on top of our mission to really put that credibility out there.
That mission is just so full. It fills me up. It fills me up to hear you say that. And I love that it's just more than the tools. It's the education, right? It's not enough just to say, here's a pamphlet, here's access, but let me teach you why. Let me teach you why. Let me teach you how. And the fact that it's coming from your experience, I think is so, so beautiful. You definitely talked about, the passport. And I feel like because you're going on this independent journey, a passport is an appropriate name for what it is to offer. So fill us in on the wellness passport. Fill us in on what that is.
We actually do say that, like, where are you going to go on your passport? Where is it going to take you? And the passport is really a wellness program that you personally design. $2,000 worth of treatment. Some people lean heavily into the nutrition, especially if they are in a difficult financial situation. For us to be able to give them some basket meal delivery for 3 meals a week, or fresh organic vegetables, or farm box vegetables sent to their home, nutrition consults, cooking and grocery gift cards. That is huge, along with just the education on how to get the metallic taste out of your mouth during chemotherapy, how to understand if you can't digest your food, what are the side effects and symptoms that you're dealing with, and food could actually be healing. So we have this whole education component, but we have a hands-on, tangible, either cooking class, vegetables, food delivered, that ties the two together. So that passport, some people use it for all nutrition. Others will do acupuncture and nutrition. Some will do yoga, meditation. They have choice. So they get to look at the passport. Some things don't require any, we call them squares on your passports. They don't require any squares. It's ongoing, like our cooking, our speaker series, our Ask the Experts, really amazing, tools and resources that are vetted and feel not so overwhelming. We meet you where you are. And also topics that are front of mind. And then on the inside, you choose, like, how do you want to put your passport together? Some just want to do all counseling. Some want to do, mix it up. and get a little bit of the yoga, a little bit of meditation, and they're one-on-ones, and we now can do it virtually. The COVID was a really good teacher for us, so much devastation, but really became a very good teacher for us on how we can expand and think differently.
You should be applauded for the diversity of service. I mean, I think that, again, each patient is different. Each woman or man is different and has different needs. And as opposed to giving something that is a cookie cutter solution, it sounds like you really thought about, okay, people might want variations of this. People might want a little bit of this and a little bit of that. And you really gave them the opportunity to do that. So if you find yourself in this situation, or if you know individuals in this situation, how can patients apply and receive the passport and the service? How does that work?
No, we try and make it so easy. We have a lot of hospital partnerships. They definitely have the pulse of the patient. Our nurse navigators, our, medical team, our surgeons, oncologists. We are united, in getting those patients newly diagnosed within 18 months. That's the criteria into our program, right? So the nurse navigators will recommend. A lot of them come that way. But now we're also leaning into other organizations that are really top of mind for us with our goals of getting to women of color, to getting to our Black community, knowing that the health disparities are so shifted, such a gap there. And the outcomes are difficult. 42% of all Black women have a higher chance of going metastatic. So for us, when we were moving into the national space, we knew we wanted to prioritize and start there and enroll and enlist our nonprofits that are totally just in that space. Whether it's Touch BBCA, the Black Breast Cancer Alliance, whether it is Black Health Matters, really aligning with people who we know that are going to help us get to the community in a meaningful way, and so our hospital partners are they're key, but we're now also getting other recruiting partners that are aligned with our goals to get to those underserved communities, to get to the Latina community. It's another community. We now do Spanish-speaking only wellness days. We were missing that group of women. So we've learned a lot. This all happened out of the pandemic, but being able to virtual, digital ties, make sure we could go digital with our programming, our conferences, we could go anywhere now. So that's been such a plus. But we have quite a few ways that we're recruiting. If you're in the Philadelphia area and surrounding New Jersey and Pennsylvania, a lot of word of mouth happens because people know us. We've been here for 12 years, and they know, what Unite for Her can deliver. And just get you whole again. It's whole patient care, and you are physically and emotionally connected in order to get whole patient care. You can't have one without the other. And that's where Unite for Her comes in and treats the person, right? The person. Medical team, the cancer, right? Unite for Her, treat the whole person. And then they do better. Then they do better.
I want to talk about this time. You mentioned it a little bit about the pandemic, and it is a little off topic, but I want to talk about how you as an organization, because a lot of nonprofits had a really hard time during this time that everyone had a hard time, and would just love to, right. But your team, as small but as mighty as they are, leaned into the digital space to ensure, because even with the pandemic, those who are truly in the position in which you serve, their issues didn't stop, right? Their needs didn't stop. Yeah, how you dove into that time and really turn that digital space up a notch.
Yeah, I remember it like yesterday. It was March 2020, and we had 900 women to serve, and they were waiting for our programming. We usually did in-person conferences, and there was no way we couldn't figure this out. Like there was just, they needed us. So we had something called Her Care Box. It was Give the Gift of Care Anywhere in the Nation. That was already sitting there waiting. We took the large Her Care Box, put our whole conference in it, and started shipping the program right to their home. Because of the stay-at-home orders, we knew we had to adapt. Our communication team, led by Corianne Armstrong, was just remarkable and built all these digital platforms so that we could do what we did in person, digital. We just chipped away at it. And, and not only just the wellness outreach with the conferences and doing one-on-one consultations, all of our providers that were in-person providing care, they went to digital as well. They went to one-on-one, virtual Zoom meetings or FaceTime meetings, and then we pay for it. And some actually did better, like counseling. People are more comfortable in their home, right? Breaking down barriers, not being able to get out of work, childcare, transportation. Now, all of a sudden, the barriers that we had and obstacles in the past were alleviated. So we knew we found a different way that was actually could be better, and just felt different, And then we had to reinvent all of our fundraising, and we had a strong community that stayed with us. Like every event, we still did. We had to, right? We had to raise the money, and our community was with us. And we just reinvented a virtual experience, but we would send something to their home so they could feel, touch, taste, really get those senses, because it gets Zoom can be a lot. It can be a lot. Thank goodness we have it. Thank goodness we have it. But we have to get them engaged, and we're still in a place that we're still doing virtual conferences for our women and sending everything to their home. They still can have the option of in person or virtual if you're in the Philadelphia and New Jersey area. Across the nation, that all virtual, and it works. It works, or delivered to the home.
But you came out even stronger, on the other side, and as we're creeping out of it. So I had to just take a moment to applaud you for that and that effort, because it's just been remarkable what you've been able to do. So we've talked a lot, the ocean of it, right? And about the individual. I want to talk about the data. I know you're a data person like I am. And I know that there was a recent survey as it relates to integrative care and treatment. And I want you to really touch base as it relates to your findings and what you found and how that's really affected Unite for Her.
Yeah, we're actually moving in this space quite nicely, aligning with organizations that could give us that credibility, IRB, that's what they do well, a leader in the space, like Acuvia. Acuvia came about because a lead researcher, who was one of our women we treated, she ended up doing it as a project. She wanted to see if integrative care, she knew, made such a difference in her healing, but let's put something around it that we can actually get into the Journal of Oncology, right? And that was key. The fact that we had a survey come out that the majority of physicians and patients want integrative care for whole patient care, and that they do better, and they could publicize that and do a white paper on that. That ended up giving us the credibility we need, because we do internal studies all the time, internal data surveys, right? So we're always surveying our women. 80% of them saying that they had less side effects and symptoms because of the Unite for Her program. 27% of them saying that they were able to eliminate at least one or more prescriptions during the Unite for Her program. So we survey our women every year because we need that feedback to see how we're doing, but also to see where we can expand on or what we can really do maybe more of, because we see it's such an impact. And when you see these questions come up and you see the results, you know that integrative care is key. Whole patient care is key. The Wall Street Journal did an article. It was in 2019, I think, October, and it was about, the now what, and about how the medical community is treating the cancer. But what's happening is that 17 million people are living with cancer now. It's a lot in the United States. They're thinking it's going to be more like 30 million, come 2030. But the fact that we're doing better with cancer, but they have devastating side effects. Their immune system is depleted. Their organs are compromised because of the treatment itself. And then they go on to talk about how integrative care helps subside that, helps to strengthen, helps to bring back, to a level of where that patient may have been before, the treatment. So, to see that being front and center, I wish we were interviewed for it, because we just have so much data and so much experience in this space. That's what we've been doing for 12 years, and noticing what a difference it makes in the patients that we serve.
Oh, wow. Well, I know that they'll be calling, because you are an authority within the space now, and truly understand that. Talking about data, you mentioned it briefly, but would love to continue the conversation. You mentioned the 40% of African American or Black women, right? And what does that really look like? That statistic alone, if you could share again, reiterate that statistic, and then what it is that Unite for Her is doing based on that data to be able to serve that community.
Sheldon, like when you look at COVID and you see the disparity there, when you look at disease, you see this disparity, right? Come on, we can do better, right? So we know that we have to figure out how we can get trusted in the space with our Black community and make sure that we are getting someone to deliver that message that feels very aligned with that integrative care and they understand it, right? And that they know it's for them too, right? Because, as an organization, we want to make sure we're looking like the women that we're serving and that we're speaking that language. And we have a task force that we put into play to make sure that we could just identify any gaps that we have, so that we can serve better in that African American and that Latina space. And knowing the statistics are so devastating, 42% of our Black women will be metastatic, That's a lot, right? That's a lot. And 1.2 times higher for Latino women. So what is that gap and what can we do? And we know that there's a lot of intent in this field. There's a lot of intent on closing that gap and bridging that gap. At Unite for Her, we have that impact. We know we can deliver the program. So the intent is good, but you got to have the impact. And the fact that we can align with other organizations that have the same goal and want to do better in their community and want to make sure we're closing those gaps one step at a time and meeting our women where they are and understanding who can help us with recruiting, understanding where there's some, gaps and how to go the next step. Not just, we invited our women, but they didn't show. Why didn't they show? Was it transportation? Was it childcare? Were they just not feeling good? Did they not understand what we sent them? Like, why? And taking it to the next level. So we're partnering with different organizations, I had said earlier, in different hospitals that we know are either in underserved communities or are in communities that, have a Latino or a Black population, that we know that we're going to be able to get to those communities and prioritize them. We're also partnering with organizations that have the pulse of the community much better than we do. And they are looking to give this, we call them gift seats, to their community and share that goodness and share that mission with, that trust and support that we're looking for. And together, we can deliver that message so much better. And then we build that name for ourselves, that yes, it is the real deal. Yes, it is for me. Yes, that is a priority of ours, and we recognize the gaps.
But I think that the interesting thing about you and Unite for Her is that it doesn't stop with the talking, right? There's the action comes into play. I mean, we can have a meeting for the meeting. We can create the postcard. We can do all of without taking action. It's really just talk. And so one of the things that I've always loved about Unite for Her, and I know that everybody who's watching and listening will do the same, is that there's action behind every word that you say. And I think that that's wonderful. Let's talk about over a decade now, 12 years, Brent, 12 years, and the growth of Unite for Her. I mean, let's talk about that one woman that you met, that you could see it in her eyes that she needed something. Conversation that you had with hubby about, okay, we're going to do this and we're going to roll up our sleeves and get it done. And then the recruitment even of the staff and the changing of the offerings and maturing of the brand itself. And now in this national stage, my friend, that you are on. Talk to me about the growth of Unite for Her.
We're always learning, number one. We easily adapt to change and are happy to do so because we know that what's front and center are our women and our men, and they lead us and they guide us, and everything we do is about serving that woman. So we are so pointed in the right direction with our values. When we were formed, it was 23 women. I remember that day. It's still on YouTube, the video. We did a video that day at Paoli Hospital. We had just raised about $65,000. We could fund 23 women. And we had our first wellness day. It's the same passport of services. It looked different. We had vouchers at the time. We've grown a lot and streamlined a lot. We were all working for free. But it was the same services, it was the same feel of that integrative education, coming in and teaching them. And then we would follow them for a full year with these services. The more money we raised, the more women we could serve. So then that 23 became 100, then 150, then 300. Then we're adding new fundraisers to raise more funds. And then I hired my first staff, and we all worked for free about 4 years. And then it was like, all right, we have something special. Let's start hiring, right? Let's start really ramping this up. And then, that went to 1,700 in 2020. And then the pandemic hit, right? And we were set to serve 1,700. That year, we actually served 1,900. So we weren't going to let it stop us. We weren't going to let it stop us. It just looked different. And then, now we're raising, so many different ways that we raise funds and get funding to Unite for Her, whether it's corporate or grants, and they have aligned mission, aligned goals. They want to see that impact, right? So we're able to deliver the program, and we're meeting with them to meet those goals and to deliver those goals. But to see that growth from inception, all the way up, and now we'll be close to 2,900 newly diagnosed. We've delivered over 95,000 integrative therapies to those that we serve, all paid for. We don't just hand them a check, right? We pay their bill. They make the appointment, we pay their bill. We do the grocery list and we send them that gift card. We, mail them their sunbasket. We pay our vendors. So it really is a lifestyle change that they get to see and feel empowered and, get that control. But we continue to evolve and change, like the metastatic passport, adding ovarian, knowing the differences, understanding triple negative breast cancer. That's another difficult, diagnosis. So we are always learning and always open to, making sure that we are meeting those that we serve. And food insecurity was a big deal, especially during the pandemic. Like, people did not want to go out of their houses. They were having a hard time. We wanted to make sure that we got to them what was nourishing and really going to be healthy for them to do well, to do the best they can, have that best fighting chance. So that expanded so much on our passport. So yeah, we're in tune to the population that we serve and always listening. We also know we can't be all and do all for everyone. So I feel like we have a lane. We know our lane. And then, once we introduce our community to integrative care and complementary care, then all of a sudden they learn on their own about, oh, I love music. What is music therapy? Or I love, another form of art therapy. And for them to learn, then all of a sudden they catch that understanding that there's many ways to approach your health and wellness, right?
For sure. And as the patient evolves, right? They evolve. We always say, or at least I always say, you don't know what you don't know, right? And so you really feed into that space. And with that comes an evolution. I want to talk a little bit about you for a change, my friend, and your own evolution, right? Because you being CEO of a nonprofit organization, that's not how this began. You were a patient, saw a need, coach, and in sales, and now you're part of and running this beautiful, beautiful thing that's helping so many people. Have you evolved as well during this process?
So much. Yeah, I've learned so much. I have a brilliant staff that teaches me just as much as I teach them. So I am so grateful to them, right? And that's aligning yourself with people who have your strengths that you don't have. And that's how I built Unite for Her. But I know, when you think about it's like my skill set was set up for this and I didn't realize it. I could build a team. I was a high-level gymnastics coach for years. I could build a very strong team. So, being an athlete, I knew I had that. I was in sales, so I can ask anybody for anything. So money was not an issue as far as asking. And a survivor, the passion of a survivor that just like we knew there could be a better way. And then going and grabbing, your staff and your board that has the talent that you don't have and smarter than you are in this space to bring Unite for Her to a place that's just so remarkable and buttoned up and just growing at a percent. Like I feel like we grow about 20% a year. That's extraordinary, and it's not, one person can't do that. I am as good as everybody who surrounds me. And it's those people who surround me, and I'm grateful for it because it's become my life's work. And the timing was right, and I was in a position that I could do it. And I'm grateful for that.
You are doing it, my friend. You are doing it. And I am lit up with all that you are doing, the momentum in the growth, not living in the valley at any point in time. The pandemic and those things that are uncertain didn't stop you from moving forward. Not only are your patients growing and evolving, you are as well with your wonderful team. I just want to know what's next. I want to know what the goals are for Unite for Her. I want to know, if they're coming at it, right? Like, what are you really looking and aiming towards? We know that events are such a huge part of what it is that you're doing, whether in person or digitally. What are some goals that you have?
That awareness across the nation, that's a goal of ours, right? Not a lot of people know who Unite for Her is. We have a Unite for Him. We treat men, and that's important, that awareness and getting that name out there, because the integrative care space, we really are unique in that space, the way that we deliver the care, the way that we give such easy access. So we want those to know that we're here so that we can serve, and be able to do that well. We want to make sure that we're serving well in the communities that are underserved, and getting into our Latina community, and just making sure we know how to recruit better in that space. So we're expanding there. Our goal, we have a strategic plan, which you well know, and it was to get to like 1 or 2 cities in 3 years, and that was formed in 2019. Boy, has that changed, right? So we're in 49 states now. So just to be able to go like, what's next? It's like, I think we found it. I think we found what's next. I think we're good. But we have to stay in this space and get that awareness of, how the Philadelphia area, New Jersey, and like we are such a household name here. How do we bring that across the nation? One hospital, one community at a time. Yeah, that awareness is great. So just being able to be on this show today and share what Unite for Her does, we're going to affect lives. And that's what we're all about, getting really no strings attached, getting those $2,000 worth of services right to those that are in need and newly diagnosed.
Well, the work that you have done from the moment that you realized that this was a mission, the moment that you realized, and then you put all of the wheels in motion to get yourself and the organization to the place you are now. We are all grateful. And I know that you've helped so many people in not only living a better life, but feeling better while they were doing it. So I want to thank you for your time, my friend. But before we go, I want people to know how to get in touch with you. If people want to get involved, if people want to learn, if they have individuals or if themselves, would really love to have a better understanding as to the services, the passports, and everything else that Unite for Her offers, where's the best place for them to look for that information?
Yeah, go right to our website, uniteforher.org, right? And then if you just want to talk to us directly, go to info@uniteforher.org. And then we'll get right back to you. That will end up sparking either our wellness team, our nutrition team, our counseling team, whoever your questions go right to me, and I'll get back to you. We are very accessible. So easy enough, uniteforher.org. All of our social channels, we're on there as well. And then, of course, info@uniteforher.org. And that way, if you know somebody, we can get you into the program.
Oh, my goodness. Absolutely wonderful. Okay, everyone, no excuses. You have to get in touch with my dear friend, Sue. I promise you, all of the work that they do for Unite for Her is absolutely wonderful. She's waiting to hear from you. Thank you so much for joining us.